Hey, Yo For Wrestling podcast listeners. This here is a supplemental episode to this week's Going Live episode. I wanted to do this on its own. I feel like it's earned that merit, and that is a special episode just to discuss the return of the Matt Hardy broken character. Now, here's the thing. Normally, when I do a podcast episode with you guys, I have this long, drawn-out list of notes that I think of things, and I want to make sure that I talk about. I didn't do that for this. This is going to be totally just a shoot, me just talking, because I feel like that's more genuine. When it comes to this Matt Hardy situation, I feel like that's what we need. We need me to just tell you how it is. And here's the way it is. For the better part of a year, Matt Hardy sat in TNA Impact Wrestling as probably, debatably, the number one draw in the entire world of professional wrestling. Everything he touched turned to gold. Whether it was bringing in his son, his wife, his father-in-law, turning Jeff Hardy into Brother Nero, his strange mannerisms, the change to his voice, the nifty, almost gothic-looking outfits he would wear to the ring, the white streaks in the hair, all of that stuff was just poetry when it comes to professional wrestling. And really, I think that in a long run, WWE was very frustrated that they weren't able to do more with their own talents while Matt Hardy was going on, because he was that over. He was just incredibly popular. And there's really nothing WWE could do about it. And what's frustrating as a wrestling fan is, and the reason I wanted to dedicate an entire episode, for lack of better terms, to this, is because I feel like Matt Hardy has been passed over for the quality of his brother Jeff most of his career. Now, don't get me wrong, Jeff Hardy's a fantastic wrestler. I love Jeff Hardy too. I think he's great, but I feel like Matt Hardy offers something that Jeff doesn't. He has got a personality that is significantly different from his brother. He really is. He's nothing like him. And the problem I have is that it seems like more often than not, Matt Hardy gets pushed to the back burner. And I think when he came back to WWE this particular time, I think that the plan was originally that he was going to come in and they were going to do, a short run as a tag team. And then eventually, I think Vince was more about Jeff Hardy and putting Jeff Hardy into a main event program and not really worrying so much about Matt. And the reality is, the broken character was very cerebral, it was very psychological, made you think on a whole nother plane. When you go back and you look at the matches that they were putting together, and the Apocalyptico and all that kind of stuff, and the Broken Brilliance and all these just sidebar things that they were doing with the Broken Hardy character, it was revolutionary. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to try to tell you that the tag team Apocalyptico thing was the most fantastic wrestling action I've ever seen in my life. I'm not going to say that. What I am going to say is that I feel like it was as good or better than many of the things that we see on a weekly basis on WWE programming. And I think that it made Impact Wrestling destination television. And that's not something you could say very often. Impact Wrestling has had some tough shows. If you look at Impact Wrestling, ever since Kurt Angle, I don't want to say Kurt Angle left, because he stayed a little longer than a lot of them, but AJ Styles leaving, some of their other talents up and leaving the company, ever since that mass exodus started to happen, Impact Wrestling was hard to watch. Matt Hardy made it exciting. He made it legit. He made it something that you had to tune in every week to see what kind of crazy nonsense he was going to do. And in my opinion, one of the best things that came of that is Matt Hardy got the opportunity to be the world heavyweight champion in a promotion that actually, it seemed like for a while, appreciated his talent on a level that I don't think WWE ever really did. I think WWE consistently would drop the ball on his character, and that's a problem, because Matt Hardy, for all anybody wants to say about Matt Hardy, about his in-ring skill, his all that kind of stuff, the reality is he's actually very talented, and he's a storyteller, much in the way of someone like a Bret Hart would have been in the past. Bret Hart, look, he wasn't the biggest guy in the world. He wasn't the fastest guy in the world. He wasn't the biggest brawler in the world, but he could get it done. And it was exciting. And that's what Matt Hardy has been for most of his career. And now you have a situation where he creates this incredibly unique character, and it's the most successful thing Impact Wrestling has had since Dixie Carter took over the company. That being said, with Dixie Carter being in charge, she didn't have the foresight to see how to market this thing, and when it came to contractually speaking, they really just never did the right thing by their talent. And that's a problem, because, if you don't cultivate the right kind of relationships with your talent when you have them, and then when they go off to another brand, you go through all these legal hassles like the Hardys have. It makes it so other talents aren't going to want to share their creative thought process with the booking committees. Why would you? You're going to come up with some fantastic ideas. So for those who don't remember, Matt Hardy has this great character. The contract situation in Impact Wrestling gets a little bit strange. For a little while there, it looked like he and his brother Nero were going to re-sign with Impact Wrestling, and then the deal falls through back in February. And so they are the TNA Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. And they had just gone on what was known as the Conquest of Gold, or the Quest of Gold, taking on tag team champions in all these different promotions around the country, around the world, collecting tag team championship accomplishments along the way. And it gets to the point where they are legitimately the greatest tag team in the world because they have so much gold. It's ridiculous. And then when the contract negotiations fall through, they have an opportunity to go to Ring of Honor. And this is where the first error in this whole Hardy situation occurs, where Impact Wrestling goes out of their way to prevent the broken character, the character that he created, from making it to television. Well, let's face it. I've said this before on the podcast, that Impact Wrestling never contracted his wife, his son, or his father-in-law to appear. So I don't know how they ever thought at the end of the day they would win a legal battle over the rights to this entire gimmick when they never paid for it for the talent that was on screen. Heck, in some ways, me being the social studies teacher that I am, putting, King Maxwell on there, that's child labor, You gotta put some money where your mouth is. And so it was thrilling for me this week to hear that Matt Hardy is going to get complete control of the broken characters, of the broken universe, and be able to use that. But it went further than that. Ed Nordholm, the president of Anthem Sports, has decided that all talents now will be able to do that. Well, listen, you screwed up with the Hardys. You don't have to give it up on everybody. You just got to be a smarter businessman next time you make a contract. The reality is he wasn't the one who made the original contract. He's smart enough to know how to handle business going forward. But instead, it's like they're throwing up the red flag and just letting all their talents are going to be able to walk out of Impact Wrestling with their characters. I don't know how smart that is, business-wise. However, for the WWE fans, here's the big concern. And this is a big part of why I want to do a separate episode on Hardy, is that what the wrestling world has seen in the past is when an organization, I'll give you a great example, WCW, brings in a character, and here's the example, Bret Hart, and they don't know how to use that character, they can almost bury a guy's career. Bret Hart was a phenomenal in-ring performer. He was a huge get for WCW when he left WWE, but they did nothing of substance with him. Yes, he won the World Championship, he won the U.S. title, he won the tag titles, whoop-de-frickin-do. It didn't mean anything, because there was nothing exciting built around it. It was like every third day of the week a title would change hands, so they didn't matter anymore. And that's kind of where I feel like the Broken Hardy character may go. I don't know that Vince McMahon understands how to market Matt Hardy as the broken character. And the beautiful thing about the broken character when they were in Impact Wrestling was that Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, they were the ones writing it. They were the ones coming up with the ideas and the storylines and how things would go, along with Jeremy Borash. And they put together just like incredible booking. And that's something I can't see Vince being open enough to allow Matt Hardy to do. Now, this past week on Raw, we saw Matt Hardy wrestling still in his Team Extreme gear against Bray Wyatt. And I love and hated it. I loved it because I've thought for a long time that the broken character and Bray Wyatt would be a phenomenal feud. But I hated it because Bray Wyatt beats him in like 4 minutes, and it's like, well, what is Matt Hardy now? He's just a glorified jobber. If you wanted to do that, you should have had Matt Hardy wrestle somebody else and have Bray Wyatt cost him the match and then have him start doing the delete sign that he did at the end of the match. If you know the broken character's coming. So for my podcast listeners, if you haven't noticed, on FroWrestling.com, our homepage of the Fro Wrestling Podcast, we put up a vignette that Matt Hardy put up this week that makes it very clear that the broken Matt Hardy character is coming back. My issue is I would really love for his first feud to be against Bray Wyatt, and had he not lost a match to Bray Wyatt to be the catalyst of this return, it would be huge. Instead, he's already lost. So now if he comes back, he wins a match, who cares? You still lost. But on the flip side, and like I said earlier, my other biggest concern is that WWE, Vince McMahon, they're not going to know what to do with him. However, let's be positive. If they do, Can you imagine some of the storylines you could put together with Matt Hardy as a broken character? You could see the match against Bray Wyatt. Can you see him, having a match with Randy Orton, the Viper, and something of that nature? Can you see Matt Hardy coming in and doing matches with Finn Balor, the Demon? What a great matchup that would be if Matt Hardy's allowed to perform at the level of his actual skill. This goes back to what I said at the onset of the episode, that Matt Hardy is treated like he's a second-class wrestler to Jeff Hardy, and that's just simply not the case. The more intriguing thing for me is the timing of it versus when Jeff Hardy will be back from injury. Jeff Hardy was originally slated to be back hopefully in time for Mania. Not going to happen now from what I understand. His injury is going to take longer to heal. So maybe you build Matt Hardy in this broken character all the way up to WrestleMania. Program, I hope to God, is with Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. And then after WrestleMania, Bray Wyatt does something, brings somebody in, or does something that Matt Hardy's having a difficult time overcoming. And you get to bring back some help for Matt Hardy, and it's Jeff Hardy as Brother Nero. What a fantastic booking idea. And make them strong. None of this jobbing out to The Bar or to Gallows and Anderson. That stuff's nonsense. I have no problem with you losing to Gallows and Anderson if Gallows and Anderson were made to look like tough tag team wrestlers every other week on Raw. Instead of being made to look like the Bullet Club, they've been made to look like the B-level club. They suck. So having them beat the Hardys destroys the Hardys' reputation. It's like what they did with the Dudley Boys when they came back. I'm hoping that Brother Nero comes back, Broken Matt comes back, and we see some real great Broken Universe vignettes, storylines, matches, all those things. Because let's be real. That's really what we deserve. As wrestling fans, we've waited long enough. That's what we want to see. We want to see the Broken Universe in all its glory, the way we saw it the first time in Impact Wrestling. Can you believe we're saying that? Impact Wrestling had the best product in the world when it comes to that particular gimmick, that presentation. That's all the time we have for this episode. I hope you enjoy that we brought this to you about the broken Matt Hardy character coming back. Special thanks as always to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing the music and sound. Thanks as always to Beazle Games giving us that new game, Sketchy People. Showcase your artistic side by playing Sketchy People right now. Grab your copy at frowrestling.com. Order it now to be home there in time for Christmas. And thanks to AlleyRepair.com. They contact them if you need any servicing on classic skee-ball, pinball, or arcade games. These guys are top quality workmanship. Take it to them first. AlleyRepair.com. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. If you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.sportsjunkies101.com for the latest articles on the world of professional wrestling. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.